All right, Mike, we got it figured out. People don't know, but this is take 2 because we had some sound issues. But dude, welcome back to the show. I'm glad you reached out to me, man. How you been?
Yeah, I've been doing good, man, and thanks for having me again, man. I always love being on this podcast. It's one of those more stripped down, like real podcasts I like to be on. It's kind of fun always having a chat with you.
Yeah, man. It's been a while. I think last time I talked to you was like peak COVID time. I think everything was shut down, and you were trying to figure out what you were gonna do with your show. It seemed like it worked out pretty well. You got the reason why you're on here. The second season's about to come out, but before we get in that, dude, like, what's new? What's been going on? How's life? I know you went through some rough times. Glad the dog was okay. I mean, we always say when we come to the show, you kind of wear your heart on your sleeve when we all kind of know what's going on in your life because you're very public about it. But so I'm just curious, like, how's everything going?
I'll try to give you the short version of it all, but yeah, it's been going good. It's been a roller coaster, man. It's 6 months ago I got COVID. My dad was in the hospital with blood clots in his lungs, and like all these things were happening at once, and all that calmed down a little bit, and then 2 months later I had a bunch of other weird health problems that came up with, like, I had this infection run through my whole body that was pretty severe. And then as soon as I was getting that figured out, my dog, out of nowhere, literally within like a 7-day, like, we did a photo shoot with him for New Year's. A week later, he lost almost half of his weight. He starved himself for 2 weeks. He was diagnosed with kidney failure because his blood levels were so bad, and his protein levels, everything was so bad. They started giving me conversations about putting him down. And I've had him for 10 years since he was a puppy. Like, he's been like, my rock, through like everything I've been through my life and through my divorce and like all my terrible things I've been through. Like, he's been like, sounds weird to say, but like, he's my best friend, like I talk to him like a human, like he goes with me everywhere I go. So it was a super like devastating blow to, like, out of nowhere, to try to accept the fact that he was dying. And I had 3 or 4 doctors diagnose him the same thing, and I spent thousands of dollars. I literally just said, just do whatever you can to keep him alive or keep him healthy and a good quality of life. I'll sell whatever I own. Like, I don't care. Like, I'll do whatever I can to pay for it. Like, just do it. He's really important to me. So after the 4th doctor diagnosed him with the same problems and he wasn't improving, they sent him home and they said, look, just enjoy your, last few weeks, or 3 months max. If he starts eating, he might have 3 months. Give him the best life he can. But, here's paperwork. I'm putting him down. And like, I was looking into cremation services. Like, it was like serious. I mean, super weirdly though, I told the last doctor, I said, I hope you're a great doctor. I'm like, I hope you're amazing at what you do. I said, but at the same time, I'm like, I hope you're terribly wrong. I'm like, I hope you made the biggest mistake in your veterinary medicine career, and you're wrong. And she goes, you know what? I do too. I hope I'm wrong, but it's not looking good. Either way, long story short, super weird. Every doctor that's seen him since then, he's been in quite a bit. They've all said it's kind of a miracle. Most of them have never seen this, let alone very rarely. But he gained all his weight back and more. He's still on a lot of meds, and he's still on a pretty serious diet, but he's like a puppy all over again. That's the weirdest blessing in the world. So yeah, it's just been a roller coaster. Now I'm going back to diet to do my own health problems that I put off the whole time I was dealing with him. So now I'm going back to all that too. So
yeah, it sounds like he's got some spunk back in him though, huh?
Yeah, it's he's literally like his hair's still growing back from all his IVs and stuff in his legs, but he's literally like a puppy all over again. It's super weird. I mean, I love it, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, even his main doctor has been a doctor for 34 years, and he was like, I've only seen this once or twice. He goes, it's really rare. He goes, we're not stopping the diet, we're not stopping the medications, everything's got to stay the same because we don't understand how he's okay still.
Right.
But yeah, he's literally, behavior's perfect. His diet's perfect. He's getting a little bit heavy, actually. He's gaining some weight a little bit too fast. But yeah, it's amazing, man. It's been quite a ride. And all that time, the show has just been in the balances, so.
Right. Well, it's kind of weird you talk, because, like, me and my wife got a Bernese Mountain Dog. It's not my dog, it's her dog. I kind of, like, whatever, when we got together, I kind of inherited, whatever, my furry stepchild or whatever you want to call it. And, she had that dog too, like you, like, went through like horrible breakups with it and, all these things. And it's a Bernese Mountain Dog with like a life expectancy of like 8. But, the dog's almost 11. and it's just like I dread the day that we have to do what we got to do for the dog because my wife's gonna need counseling for that shit. Like she loves that dog to death. Like it's it's the same thing. We got to go through the whole process. So we figure out what we could do. Like we can bring the dog home and do the whatever at the house, and then the cremation ceremony. It's just like like they become like family members, like best friends, child, or whatever you want to call it. And so I get it. Like we're kind of like on that journey now. Granted, he's doing pretty good for a dog, like living past his life expectancy, but still, it's like even me. It's like most of the time I don't like him because he's always like still in my spot in the bed, and he's always still in the attention that I want. But at the same time, like he's my bro. We sit up late a few times drinking beers and watching TV and shit. So it's like I get it. It's rough, man. We get attached to those little furry things.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I always say like dogs are perpetual 2-year-olds. Like they can't really communicate, they can't dress themselves or feed themselves or anything. But some dogs, and everyone says their dog is the best. Everyone says their dog is different and unique and all this stuff, which every dog is, obviously. But everyone that meets my dog is literally within minutes always says the same thing. They're like, he's got a personality, he's different. And everyone wants to take him home. Everyone's like, I'm gonna take him with. Like, I've never seen a dog like that. It's like Cedar is one of those dogs where like he's been with me on almost every trip I've been on. If I'm driving, he goes with me everywhere I go. I've worked from home for pretty much his whole life, like 10 years. I've pretty much worked from home and been self-employed for 10 years. So he's gone everywhere with me. When I worked at a marketing office part-time, he was there at the office with me every day. He's just, me and him are so close. Like I don't have a day off from him. Like I don't go to work and come home and see him. Like I never leave his side usually. So it's our bond is pretty tight, man. And when I had to go through the process of like trying to accept him not being around anymore, dude, it was like, I have an amazing supportive girlfriend and who lives with me. So, and she's got a dog that is like the Tasmanian devil equivalent of a dog. And it's very different than what I'm used to. So it's kind of distracting during the process a little bit, which is nice. But man, when eventually I do have to lose him, it's going to be like, it's going to be something I'm never going to forget. And it's going to be one of those things where it's like, you got to deal with it. It is what it is. It's unfortunately part of life is death. So, it's one of those things where you have to deal with, I don't know. It's weird. Yeah, it's a weird topic because we'll get into it for 3 hours because I'm like so serious about my dog.
Right. Yeah. Well, we'll get out of that. We'll save that for another day. But man.
One.
Before we get into, like I said, there's a few things I want to talk to you about. Like, so some things have changed for me. Like my podcast is starting to get bigger. I actually got my first paid sponsor. And things like that. Things are changing for me like dramatically. But the thing is, like, it's really weird because. I never really treated it like a job. This is just a hobby. It's just like fishing to me. It's just something I do. My full-time job is a paramedic. And things like that. And so, it was weird. This thing kind of like snuck up on me. Like, oh wow, this is actually going somewhere. And I'm not saying I've reached anywhere like special, but you see like the potential. Like with like the work you're doing, like the content you're making, and and like wow, like this stuff. It's actually, it's working off. I've been doing it for like a year and a half now. And I'm starting to see something come out of it. And I never expected it to happen, really, to be honest with you. And, it's just weird. Slowly my life is changing, like things are getting, I'm getting more into this content stuff. I'm getting more into the industry part of what I'm doing. And it's been a weird process. And I was wondering, did it take you by surprise when you do it, when you're like, holy shit, I can actually do something with this. And like I said, I don't know what this is. I don't know what success is going to be entailed for me later down the road. But you when you were coming up and you were making your videos and you start off doing the YouTube thing and people can go watch your videos from years and years ago, what was it like kind of like when you're looking like, oh wow, this is really did it catch you by surprise? Was it something that kind of knew would happen or what? Because it's been really weird for me. I never thought something like this would be like my thing. Like I would be a podcast guy or I'd be, you know what I mean?
Working in the industry a little bit more. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just weird.
Yeah, so when I first started doing all this stuff, it was 5 years ago, and we're in a totally different world and climate than we were 5 years ago in the sport. So 5 years ago, I was running a marketing agency or running the sales department at the marketing agency, and I was in my office maybe once every 2 weeks, just to kind of check on things and I was in and out here and there, but I was doing most of my work on the water, just via my cell phone, and my computer at home. Like I wasn't really at the office anymore. I was kind of working remotely every day because I wanted to pursue fishing and I wanted to do something with it. But I had that weird epiphany where, and I tell the story all the time, but maybe not from this angle, I guess, but I had this weird epiphany where I just realized like I was working just so I could do what I wanted to do. I was only working so I could afford to do what I was passionate about. And I was like, wonder if I can find a way to make money doing what I'm passionate about. I've done it plenty of times in my life. I did it with mixed martial arts fighting. I did it with music. I've done it with hockey. Like I found ways to make money inside of sports and stuff before. So I was like, well, I know there's a lot of avenues to make money in the sport. And I had the privilege of doing marketing with Kevin Van Dam for 9 years. My office ran his distribution and a lot of his marketing and apparel and stuff. So I got to fish with him and talk to him a few times about the business part of it. And I kind of learned about the diversity in the industry and different ways to market yourself. And tournament winnings they were like all chalked up to be like, no one can really make a living just off tournament winnings. You have to, because you lose more than you win. So you have to actually have branding and all the other things. So when I started out, I already had some experience in like, in media, video and music and different sports with sponsorships. So I kind of had a head start. So I didn't know I was going to do anything successful or make it or make a living doing it all, but I knew that I could try. I knew I had enough ammo to try. But when I started to actually I remember when I got the phone call, and it's weird because I remember when this happened. Like it was like yesterday. I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but I can tell you the story as if it happened 3 seconds ago. Like I got a call from one of my sponsors, my first sponsor I ever had, and my first paid sponsor I ever had too. They called me up and the owner called me and said, hey, and he said it in a way that was like, at the time, like it's different the way you perceive it at the time, I guess, versus looking back now on how it was perceived. But he called me up and he was just like, he said it so matter of factly. It's like, all right, so we're going to start paying you X amount of dollars a month. And, we're just going to have you do this and do this. And how's that? And like, I know he was like setting me up to like expecting me to have like this explosive reaction. And for some reason I was like, yeah, that's cool, man. How about we do this? And I renegotiated it like on the fly. Like, I don't know why I did that, but I felt like I had some, I don't know. So I renegotiated it and we worked out a deal. We compromised it. It's my first paid sponsor. And when that happened, that was the moment where I was like, all right, I think I'm actually doing something right here, because not only did I get an offer without having to ask for it, but I just upped that offer and they accepted it. And that's when I had that epiphany moment where I was like, all right, this is something I can, like, if I quit my career in marketing and I put all of my energy into this, instead of spreading myself throughout all my things I was doing. I had a furniture company, like a rustic industrial furniture and sign company. I had my marketing thing I was doing. I had the fishing thing and YouTube thing I was doing. And I was like, if I just stop everything, like if I dissolve my business, if I quit the marketing agency I was at for 10 years, if I do all of these things, I feel like I can do the same thing I just did with this brand and replicate it throughout the industry. And I didn't feel that confident until that phone call happened. And then it all took off. And my podcast, it's funny because my podcast, I mean, we're on episode 163 will be this coming up week. 162 was yesterday. So we've been doing it for over 3 years. And I don't promote the podcast. I really don't. And I should. I have 100 and something recordings that I have never even published on Spotify or iTunes yet. Like I'm just waiting to do it for some weird reason, because I want to do it all, like a big group of it all at once so people can binge if they want to listen to a bunch. But like I don't really promote it. I don't get sponsorships for the podcast on purpose. Like I've never had a brand sponsor the podcast. I don't want to make it anything but a conversation. I don't want to make it about promotion, or I don't want to have to, and there's nothing wrong with like, being sponsored, obviously. That's great. I mean, honestly, I've got thousands of dollars in gear in my podcast studio that I wish I could have sponsorships pay for, so like, right. I get, like, I really wish I kind of wish I would have went that way in the beginning, but now I'm so set in that way of not having any brands to promote during the podcast that I like it, because I can promote, this, collapsible phone tripod, which I have no affiliation with, obviously, but if I had affiliation with a brand that competed with it, I won't be able to do it. By the way, this thing's cool. You flip it, check it out. It's pretty sweet. Dude, Facebook ads, man. Facebook ads get me all the time. So it's like I can talk about whatever products or brands I want. I can have a conversation about my dog for an hour on my podcast if I want, and no brand can say anything to me about it. So, my podcast was kind of the same idea as yours, where it started getting traction. People were interested, and you're like, oh, wait, I can do something with this. But luckily I had the show and the YouTube channel and everything that was in my sights from the day one. And from day one, the YouTube channel And the hosting a show period was in my sights from day one. I just knew I had a lot of steps to go there. And that's when I did 2 years straight of nothing but tournament fishing, and making YouTube videos and learning how to do the YouTube video thing at the same time. And then I did the tournament fishing to understand that better and to kind of set, my place a little bit. I had 13 top 10 finishes out of 26 tournaments. So I didn't do great. I mean, I'm not a great fisherman, but I can compete a little bit. Like I can be competitive, I guess. So once I established that, I felt comfortable being competitive. And I was like, cool, now I go back to the media side and the hosting side. And the podcast is just kind of like my therapy. It's my weekly therapy. It's just my weekly time to be able to just vent about anything in the industry. If I'm excited about a product or excited about some new baits or, a new technique or anything, I have that platform where I can just once a week just talk to somewhere between 5 and 150 people, whoever wants to come on, and just be like, hey, check out this. Let's talk about, family issues. Who cares? So it's been a cool ride, man.
Let me ask you this though, because I'm not saying I'm there at all, because our situations are different. I'm a little older. I got the wife and the kids, and so I got these things. But still, there are people who, and I've seen in the industry who did have the same stuff I did, take that chance because they saw the potential and what they were doing, and left the career, left that that security. That's one of my problems, is that I'm very attached to the security. When I was 18, I immediately joined the Marine Corps. I got the Marine Corps for 6 months, got scared, went back in, got in the Army. It was easier for me to go take shrapnel in Iraq than it was to sit there and try to, live a life outside that security blanket of, insurance, medical care, a weekly or a bi-weekly paycheck, on time, all the time. And that's always been my life. And so even now, the jobs I have now as a paramedic, it's there's a security in it. There's a for sure that I'm going to get paid. There's a for sure that things are going to go according to whatever plan I have. And I don't know how these guys who doing content, because it's not when you talk about YouTube videos and podcasts, it's not there's a blueprint to it. I think when you talked about this before, there's no blueprint to this. It's not maybe a musician where you get a manager helps you go through the steps of, helps with all that other stuff. There's none of that really here. It's just I wake up, I go do my life, and then I do a podcast with someone, and I put it out there, I publish it, and that's it. And then one day it's I got successful off that. It's what do you do with that? Because do you leave everything that to go chase something that you do? There is no blueprint. I don't even know how I got here. I don't know how, or whatever. And I don't even know what direction to go. It's a very weird industry, or a part of the industry that the YouTube videos, podcasts. It's there's nothing telling you what is the right, wrong way to do stuff, and to put faith in that and to leave that blanket of security that I'm so comfortable with. It's a terrifying thing to even think about.
Well, it is, but so I got lucky too. Like I said earlier, I've had a background. I started my first, not a real business, but I have business cards from when I was 8 years old, where I used to go door to door and I'd find rocks in people's driveways, go home, put them in my little rock tumbler and polish them, and go back to their door and sell them for $1 a piece. And I did that because I was an 8-year-old kid. People don't say no to 8-year-old kids usually when they're selling something. So, but I got confidence as a salesman as a kid because I was always the number one seller in fundraisers because my family owns a food company in Detroit. So I'd go down to the warehouse where there was, hundreds and hundreds of people a day going to the food markets, and I would just sell candy bars right there, and I would sell out everything I had within a day. And I got such confidence. I used to draw pictures of my dad's warehouse and sell them to all the truck drivers that came in. When it came time to me being, my first actual legal business that I started, I was 18 years old, and I already had a mortgage. I already had a house. I already had, I was already managing a music shop while I was in high school. So I already had all these things. So when I came into this industry, I had so much back in me. I got so lucky with, I was afraid to take the risk too. Giving up security is a huge fear, but my family's been entrepreneurs since the 40s. I have multiple generations of creating jobs instead of finding jobs. And, I definitely see me and my sister are opposite. For example, she was an all-A student all her life. She went to college, she got her master's degree. She works at a hospital in healthcare. So she's super stable, one of the most stable industries you could be in. Her husband's an engineer. So most stable thing. You know, she's always had that crazy stability. Like she's dated like 2 people her whole life. You know, she's like had that really controlled, stable life. Never really got crazy, partied, you know, smoked, anything like that as a kid. I was the opposite, man. I was like the Tasmanian devil of childhood, man. I did everything. You know, I got caught smoking cigarettes, got caught stealing wine coolers. You know, I never wanted to be home. I just wanted to be outside building forts, riding bikes. You know, just, you know, I played hockey, I played football, I did track, I did wrestling. Like I played baseball, basketball. Like I was all over the place. I played every school sport you could think of. You know, I had the opposite of the structure in my life as growing up. And I always saw that as I had this crazy energy and I wanted to apply it to things that I thought would make impacts and positive impacts and do great things. So when it came time to do all this stuff, it was just applying. You know, I got paid by sponsors in mixed martial arts. I got paid by sponsors doing other sports and other activities before. So I knew that process. I did 4 years of video editing school and stuff before digital and partially in digital. Like I took all of these things and just put them all in a bowl and said, I can use all these things to learn how to do this in the fishing industry. I had no idea how to do it in this industry. I've never had a YouTube channel before. I didn't know how to do it for YouTube, but I was like, I think I have enough tools to make a calculated risk. It's like an educated risk where, right. Yeah, I was risking losing my security. I mean, my job would take me back tomorrow, I'm sure. I mean, my old marketing job, if I called them right now and said, hey, I'm going to quit the BassSquatch stuff, can I come back and run the sales department? I have no doubt in my mind that they would be like, yeah, come on back to start tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow. So I knew I had that to fall back on if I wanted to, but you know, I'm doing this for the long run and I'm not planning on stopping, and I'm going to keep on growing and evolving. And, you know, that's just the only thing I can say is when you take that risk, try to do it as educated and calculated as possible. You know, like I was married when I took the risk. You know, I didn't have kids, but you know, I was married. I had a wife. I have a house. I have all these things I have to support. You know, it was definitely still a pretty hefty risk, but, you know, my wife was really supportive of the decision at the time. And I told her, I said, give me 1 season. I'm like, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to close down the furniture and building business. And, you know, I didn't have a whole lot in savings at the time either. I just told my wife, I was like, look, help me get through this time. If I need it, if I fall, just help me up and I'll make it through it. But if it doesn't work in 1 year, I'll go back. I'll get 3 jobs if I have to make up for what I did. I don't care. And within a few months, man, everything was turned around. As soon as I put all of my energy and all my focus and all of my like experience and everything I could into one thing, you know, my first 3 to 5 YouTube videos were trash in my opinion. They were learning steps for sure. They were just over edited. They were just terrible. I used off-brand GoPros. Like everything looked terrible. And after my probably 4th or 5th YouTube video, I asked enough questions and I was spending 10 hours a day watching tutorials. I was asking people who are really advanced in video, especially for fishing, and like, how do you do it? Where do you mount cameras? What cameras do you use? How do you edit? I was getting notes on my editing from multiple people and applying those things. After about 5 YouTube videos, man, it just clicked, and I saw my vision. I knew where I wanted to go, and I didn't know before that. Like if you would have asked 5 years ago, Mike, if you would have been like, went to, you know, 2015 Mike or 16 Mike and been like, hey, what's your plan for the BassSquatch brand? I never would have said what we're doing today. I didn't know, you know, like I didn't have that clarity to know that this was the format I wanted for the show yet. I didn't know any of it. But if you asked me after my first 5 YouTube videos, which was still in 2016, what I wanted to do for the show, it would be almost exactly what I'm doing right now, which is how I knew that I was doing the right thing, because I was following my original goal, my original vision for it, and it started working out. You know, we hit almost 2 million viewers last year in our show in our first season on cable, and we ranked number 5 on the network for a brand new show, which is insane. And we're projected to hit 3 million this year. We got 7 million more homes this year. So, you know, the format that I thought of 5 years ago was right. And, you know, if you take that jump from a comfortable, secure industry into anything, not just fishing, but like, you know, when I went to mixed martial arts, I did the same thing. I was like, this isn't stable. It's based on my performance, and it's based off sponsorships and based off winning. Same thing in music and sports. You know, any athlete who wants to be a professional athlete, you have those moments where you're going to probably live out of your car, and you're going to have to just travel around and do camps and do, you know, like you mentioned, like musicians get managers and they do all the work. But you know, I've been a musician my whole life, and I've been in that spot where I tried making it when I was in my, early 20s is when I kind of stopped the dream. But most musicians and actors and everything like that, most artists, period, are homeless for a good period of their life most of the time,
Right.
because they sacrifice everything and it doesn't pan out right away. But it's the perseverance through that period, and the overcoming the obstacles and learning from those obstacles that gets you to the point where you get a manager. Like I don't have a manager right now.
Right.
And I don't want one right now, but I did interview with a few managers last year, and one of them that turned me down, like it was funny to me because it was like it was a slap in the face, but it was an eye opener. Like I really appreciated this guy. He shot me down being my manager, and I was like, but wait a minute, I'm hiring you. Like, how can you tell me no? But he's like, well, I got to look at my investment, my time into you. Am I going to get my money back out of you? And I didn't have my TV show yet at the time when I talked to this guy. So he didn't know what I was going to do yet, or anything like that. So it's like getting a manager is an accomplishment in its own. Getting someone to work for you is really complicated because they have to see value in the brand and make sure they can make their percentage and make money. And, in the fishing world, it's not really there. No one's making $100,000 off of deal in fishing. So,
Right.
Someone getting, 20% for an agent or a manager isn't really going to make too much money off someone in this industry. But it's overcoming those obstacles, getting back to that part. It's overcoming those obstacles during that period. Like if you quit your job right now, you would lose your health benefits, you lose your paycheck, your security, everything. You'd probably have a pretty rough, at least a few months,
Right.
But it's emotionally rough, mentally rough, physically rough, everything. You have to get over all that in order to actually get to the goal, whether that's a 6-month lull or a year long lull. But there's gonna be that lull period where you're just like, you just feel like you're scraping at mud to get out of a hole and you're not climbing anywhere, but then you just get traction. And that's what we all fight for is, and I do it every year. Like people who don't realize, like I always hear that where people are like, oh, you made it, you did this. And I'm like, I didn't make crap, like I still claw my way out of the hole every single week.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Like I was going to use this to segment into, because I mean, I'm not gonna repeat because you already said people saying that you made it, but you did kind of make it to the point where like your platform's gotten bigger. You made it to where like now you're you got a show that's on a network TV. But I was also I was wondering that's got to be, it's like one of those things that you make it, but then it's like, oh shit, I made it. You know what I mean? It's like I got a show, but I gotta keep the show going. It's like I mean, like how many shows like when we're going back to like actors and stuff, like there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I made it, I got a pilot. And then that show only makes it one season, and then that person goes back to the the B leagues or whatever. Yeah. So it's just like I was curious, like how do you handle that kind of stress because you're going into your second season. The show has to be successful for it to get picked up. It's almost like that's got to be like as much as you're probably enjoying the ride, it's got to be like a like shit in razor blades, man. It's like nervous and like I hope this does good each season. You're probably checking numbers. Like that's got to be like making it's not like what we think making it is, I guess, in some ways.
Not at all. And when I did the episode with a NASCAR driver last year, me and him had some like that dude is such a great guy. We had a great conversation about this whole since because he was 18 at the time. Like he was a rookie of the year last year in NASCAR, and he's such a talented, amazing driver. Like this dude you're going to hear his name for years. Like he's such a talented dude, but he's like an old soul. Like the dude is like 40 years old and in a kid's body. Like me and him had some like great conversations, but I gave him a cool analogy because we were talking about how like, getting started in racing and building your way up to the point where you can have $500,000 worth of sponsorship dollars to be able to afford to even go to a race, and I was telling him, I was like, look, man, learning how to drive and learning how to race is the fun part. That's the part that anyone can do. Anyone can take the time. If you have the time, obviously it's your choice, but anyone can put time and energy into learning how to race. Once you get in the car and you're a NASCAR driver, that's when the pressure starts. That's when the work starts. That's when everything gets serious. So it's same thing in any industry, in music. Once you make it and get a record deal, now you're like, oh shit. Or whoops, sorry, I didn't swear. But now you're like, oh crap, and it's one of those things where you're like, now I got to keep this, and that's the hardest thing to do. There's hundreds of thousands of musicians out there that have great music, that are talented, they're artists that never get a chance. Then there's thousands of one-hit wonders that get one chance and then they blow it and they can't sustain. So it's not about the journey. Anyone can do the journey. Once I got my show, like everything is 10 times harder now. Everything is 10 times more serious. If I lose, and it's year to year, it's not like I have 5-year contracts with sponsors or anything, or even with the network. Like I had a 2-year contract with the network because they saw how good my show started out, and they saw the potential of the new format. Like no one does a format like I do in the outdoor industry. And so they signed me to a 2-year deal. So I didn't have to worry about renewing this year with that. But I had sponsorships are all 1 year. Like nobody does multi-year deals for the most part because it's so uncertain. Like the economy is uncertain, the industry is uncertain. My show could flop this year, and then all the sponsors are going to go, oh crap, So,
Right.
I say this a lot in my podcast. I say this a lot in general, but I miss the days of doing YouTube where I would go out with 1 or 2 GoPros by myself. I would find creative ways to set up GoPros to get all these different angles and like that. And I would go out and just fish and then come home and edit from 1 or 2 camera angles, post it on YouTube, get some feedback, make a few $100s in sponsorship dollars. And that was it. There was no pressure. It was just like building and building and building and building. It was fun. Not that it's not fun now, but now it's a totally different atmosphere. Now it's, I'm in my office 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day sometimes. Luckily, the ice is melting so I can get outside and start fishing again. But it's just every day, man. I'm watching the trends. My finger has to be on the pulse. I'm on social media 8 to 10 hours a day, according to my app that I use to keep track of my time, plus my computer that I'm on at the same time almost all day. So I'm constantly have to watch trends. I have to watch like what's coming up next. And I have to try to think ahead to go, like I'm playing chess constantly. There's no checkers in this game. So I'm watching everyone else's moves, not like other YouTubers and stuff, because I don't have competition. Like nobody's really competing with each other. There's hundreds of millions of YouTubers out there. Like I'm not competing with people on YouTube or on my network even. There's no competition. It really isn't. It's more of I'm competing with brands. Like I'm watching other brands in the industry and I'm trying to see what they're doing. So like I'm talking to other boat companies and motor companies and kayak companies and fishing rod companies, and I'm trying to see what their plans are for next season and 2 seasons and what's their future. So I know how to gear my format to, and I know how to gear my audience. And that way my show, when the industry changes next year, my show is going to automatically be relevant to next year. Like, you know what I mean? It's got to keep up. So like now it's just like this constant like liquidity of my show where I have to just constantly be evolving and moving and flowing all the time. It's never like, you can't be complacent at this point. Like where you're at right now, if you want to take a week off, you can. If you wanted to be complacent for a little while and not really promote your podcast, you could do that too. You could easily, hold on, sorry, my cameras are going off like crazy. Oh, I think it's FedEx. Okay. Sorry. I have multiple cameras outside and they all just started going nuts at the same time. You have a luxury of like same thing I did before I quit my job to do this full time, this luxury of being able to be complacent if you want to just take a break, or if it gets stressful, you're just like, I don't need this. Like, it's not my job. Like, I just got to take a breath and come back to it. In my position, if I breathe, I lose, like if I pause, I'm done. It's one of those things where if you want to make it in any industry, because I did the same thing in mixed martial arts, luckily Facebook and YouTube weren't really a big thing when I was doing mixed martial arts professionally. So it wasn't a big deal, but it was mostly in-person promoting, which I loved. It was driving to events and talking to crowds of people about the sport and inviting them to your show or to your fight, giving away free tickets to get people to show up. And, we got paid based off ticket sales back then because views weren't a thing, so it's a totally different world now. But, back then I had a point where I wasn't doing it full time at first. So I was like, this is getting rough. Like, I'm going to take a month off because my body hurts. Like, I'm taking a month off. But when I started doing it full time and I was making like a living fighting, I fought almost every weekend. I would go to my fight still beat up from the fight before with like bruises and broken nose and like, because I had to. You couldn't take a break. Like, you couldn't, if you stopped, you lose. And that's kind of where I'm at with this industry is, my YouTube channel and social media have been suffering a little bit because I've been focusing so hard on the TV show, but I'm hiring more people right now. Actually, I'm going through the whole process of hiring more people to start helping with YouTube editing and stuff, so I can just focus on the show more myself. But if you pause, someone else isn't pausing. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you pause, the industry isn't pausing. So,
Right.
it once you make it, that's when the real work starts. My job right now is 10 times harder than it was before I got the show, before I got anything. So even like when people say celebrities, I'm sorry, I'm rambling about this too, but it's the last part. When people say celebrities have it so easy, actors, they have it so easy. They make millions, 25 million, $30 million off a movie. They have it so easy. They get everything they want, but they don't realize, like, I have friends that are actors and I have friends in the industry, and it's not fun. I don't want to be them. Like, yeah, their paycheck's cool, but what they have to sacrifice for that paycheck isn't cool. They can't breathe the wrong way without someone criticizing them for it. And they're constantly getting hate mail. Like, I get haters, obviously everyone does who's in public, they get haters, but I can't imagine getting, like, their families get attacked. Like, they can't go outside, they can't do anything. And when they go out to a video shoot, they're gone for 6 months away from the family. They work at 4 a.m. They got to be on set, and it's 3 hours of makeup. Like, they work pretty darn hard for the most part, to make a living. So, and it's same idea as what we're in right now, but a way bigger scale. They have to stay relevant. They have to stay in shape, so they have a good body if they need to be. They have to get plastic surgery to stay young looking if they have to be. Like, they get desperate, because once you lose that relevance, you're done. And then you got to, like you said, you got to go back to the B squad and start over. And nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to go back to playing pickup games if you're done playing pro for a couple of years. So, it's a huge hit on your ego. It's a huge hit on your pride. It's a huge hit on all your mental and physical stress that you went through to get where you were. That's why musicians and celebrities sometimes have, or a lot of times have, crazy depression problems, because that crazy up and down of being in the spotlight and then not being able to get back into it, and then being back in the spotlight and then getting hated for it. And, like, I mean, if you magnified what I do by 10 million, it'd probably be equivalent to what these celebrities get. And I mean, I struggled with depression like crazy at first, because all the hate I was getting, and, from, going up and down in the industry. So, I mean, it's definitely making it, is not a real thing. It's really not. Making it, I think, is finding real happiness and doing what you love to do. If that's considered making it, which I think it should be, then yeah, I made it,
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Being content. I mean, there's nothing wrong with, like, going through the process, loving the process, but if you're not happy with it, and, like, when you do get to the point where you make it and you don't enjoy that anymore, and it becomes like a great. I know. Sometimes, I mean, sometimes you got to hustle. You got to put hard work in. But still, like, if there's not, like, a love and a passion for it, still, like, you didn't make it. You know what I mean? Like, you're just, yeah, it's just not a good place to be. But yeah, man, that was good. I appreciate that. Let's talk about the second season. First off, how the hell did you pull it off with the COVID? Everything going on. Like, 2021, or 2020, what a year. But no, I'm excited that that it. Like I said, I talked to you. You were still trying to figure out how the hell you were going to do it. With camera guys and things like that. And between the time last time I talked to you now, like, you pulled it off. Go ahead and talk about it.
Yeah. So last year we had a problem, just to fill people in, I guess. We had a problem last year because my production company was deemed non-essential. And in Michigan, we have probably one of the worst, not the worst probably, but one of the worst governors as far as the pandemic's been concerned. We still have a lot of restrictions and a lot of, like, I mean, it's pretty locked down here still, but my production company was deemed non-essential, which means their insurance didn't cover any of the gear, and, hundreds of thousands of dollars in gear. So my producer and camera guys were like, hey, we ain't pulling cameras out, because if something happens, they're not covered now, because the insurance company is on board with us not being essential. So we had a 3-month period. We had to stop filming. Unfortunately, that happened in April to, like, I think it was July or August. That's my number one filming time period in Michigan is spring to summer. I mean, that's literally when I film.
It's pre-spawn, spawn, post-spawn.
Yeah, well, so my seasons are set up. So most fishing shows air in Q1, Q2, which is, quarters are every 3 months. So January to March is one quarter, and then March till June is another quarter. And fishing shows generally air in the first 2 quarters of the year. Then hunting and outdoors is third and fourth quarter. My show airs in QT and Q3, so it's Q2 and 3, because my show is more than just fishing. We have firearms, we have everything, NASCAR, hockey. Like, we do so much in my show besides fishing. So I wanted to be half and half, where I'm half in the fishing world and half in the outdoor world. So my filming schedule. So here's an example. So for 2021, I guess I'll use this for example. For this season, we filmed 4 or 5 episodes in 2020. and like up till now. And then once the season starts, like in April, which is when our season starts airing, we'll still have like 6 more episodes to film that we're going to film and then do a turnaround editing within 2 weeks and then get it to the network and that'll air. So it's super relevant and it's like up to date. So in April, I start doing that. I start filming the last 5 or 6 episodes that I need for the season that will air in the third quarter, like after June or July. So when 2020 happened in April, we got shut down. That's right when we started our schedule of everything we planned, all the permits we pulled, like all the scheduling, everything we did to have all the episodes for 2020 season planned, all got canceled, everything. So we were just sitting there like staring at ourselves going, what do we do now? Like we don't have episodes to air. We can start doing reruns. So we did some reruns. We reran a couple episodes more than we wanted to. I started pulling some footage from like the year before that I never aired anywhere, never used, and making new episodes and segments out of that. And we were like, I don't know, me and my producer had a real talk last year where we're just like, man, like with this pandemic, like if it doesn't loosen up soon, like I don't know how we're even going to have a 2021 season because we won't be able to film it and we're behind already on 2020. Like this is just it's gonna cycle where we're going to be behind in 2021 now. So luckily we were able to film. We got really creative with social distancing. We found out only one camera guy didn't constitute a crew. So I could go out with a single camera guy and it wasn't against regulations or anything in the state. So we could do that. We socially distanced, like, 10 feet away from each other, used bigger lenses and just get more creative. If we had a guest, we interviewed the guest separately. So we didn't have to stand next to each other. Like we just did things a little bit more creatively and just trying to we kind of forged through and made it. But we didn't expect, and this is the part that still shocks me, we didn't expect to hit almost 2 million viewers in our first year either, especially during the pandemic. We didn't expect that to happen. We were actually, our projections were at like 1 million was like our, like, it'd be cool if we hit 1 million, like that'd be a cool thing to say that we hit 1 million viewers. But after the first quarter, we hit 1 million viewers and we just kind of looked at each other. We're like, holy crap, we have something here. Like we need to do something. So all of our uncertainty came into 2021. I buckled down and I busted my butt. We filmed the first 5 episodes like I wanted to. Already, it's already done, and I'm just editing still right now, just finishing them up. And then in April, we already have everything planned. We're gonna be filming in full time April, May, and June, and then we'll be done filming for this year. And then July hits. We do all of our, July is the month where I don't film usually, and I just spend that. July is iCast, and July is usually when I start negotiating all the contracts for next year, making sure that I have a season to do next year because I have to have the funding. And then once July's over and we secure funding, then August hits and we start filming for 2021 from August until the snow hits in October-ish, usually November. And then cycle starts over. So we got lucky with the 2021 season because not only did our show do double what our projection was, but a lot of the brands saw very, very good returns from it because of the viewership was so high. A lot of the brands were like, holy crap, like we didn't expect it, but yes, our sales went up pretty high. We saw brand recognition was huge. We had dealers calling us for the first time, asking us to like if we could sell our stuff to them because they heard about us. The exposure was huge. So, last time we talked, I honestly didn't know we were gonna have a season this year. I really didn't. Like I'm not gonna lie, I was preparing
I'm not trying to talk shit, but like last time I saw you, you looked rough. Your hair was matty. Yeah, dude, like you look like you were getting like that's why I'm happy to talk to you now because you look in a better place. But last time I talked to you, I was like, holy shit, Mike looked like he's in a bad place. Like I don't even think your hair. Yeah, yeah, but you didn't have. I don't even think you had a hat on. Like you look like you literally look like you woke up from like a bender, turned on your computer, and had a podcast with me.
Yeah, dude, honestly though, like I'm not gonna lie, when the pandemic first started, so I have like debilitating severe health anxiety. I've been battling it for a majority of my life. And like I have panic attacks, anxiety attacks, especially when it comes to health stuff. So when the pandemic first started, dude, it took a toll on me. I took years off my life with the stress I went through when the pandemic first started. And then when I got COVID and started getting sick, then everything went haywire with me. So, and I had a rough 20. I mean, everyone did. People had it way worse than I did. So like, I had it good compared to a lot of people, obviously. But still, man, it took a toll. It was rough. And then you add the stress of the show and, the uncertainty of everything. And, and not to get too personal, but, as you said earlier, I wear my heart on my sleeve is what I do. But I was single for 2 years for the first time in my life. You know, I got divorced 2 years ago. So like the last year going through all that being single was like a new thing to me. So, you know, it was just all the things compiled up. So yeah, last year was super rough, man. And I had a really cool awakening moment probably, I don't know, probably 8 or 9 months ago, right before I started dating the girl that I'm dating now. And I had this weird epiphany where I just like, I felt like 1,000,000 pounds got lifted off my shoulders, and I just had accepted a lot of things that, you know, a lot of mistakes that I made and a lot of things that I needed to correct about myself. And it's weird, like this like self-reflection moment that I don't know how it happened. I think I hit rock bottom to a point where just like something snapped, and I was like, wait a minute, like I need to do things better. So I had a crazy last like 8 months of, I call it recovery, but it was like 8 months of just getting back to who I am and getting back to like centering myself. And, you know, I credit the girl I'm dating a lot too. She's been so supportive, and she's opened my eyes to a lot of things, and you know, gave me a good environment to grow. But it's one of those things that in order to get through everything that happened with, you know, my health, my dog, my dad, you know, all the shit or stuff I was going through. Man, I can't stop swearing on your podcast.
You're allowed to cuss on my show. I don't know about you. I don't know how if it's for you, but like my show.
I never swear on social media or anything online, and I do
that to people though. I bring out the worst in people. So
I'll blame you if my mom hears this and she's like,
I'm day drinking at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Like it's okay to curse on my show.
Well, see, like it's a thing too. Like I don't drink, I don't smoke. Like, you know, like let me swear sometimes. You know.
Dude, anything goes in the dark waters. So, but
awesome. So, anyway, so yeah. Either way, I went through a lot of bad stuff last year, and it was nice to get out of it. And a lot of people recognized it. You know, like I don't take offense that you said something about it all, because it makes me feel proud. Because, you know, I had a lot of comments in the last 6 months. Like people like, man, you look like you're more like lively. Like you look like, I don't know what it is. I'm like, yeah, I know. I got it. Like totally get it. Like I lost a lot of me last year. You know, a lot of people did, you know, a lot of people had it. Like I said, I hate doing like, I hate sounding like I want people to feel bad, or I feel bad for myself, because at the end of the day, I'm super lucky. Like, you know, there's people who've lost family members, or people that, you know, lost significant others during the pandemic. They lost their jobs. They lost everything they had. Like, you know, I can't complain, because I know that people out there have it so much worse. And what's cool though is, like, you know, in my show, I do a lot of charity segments and stuff like that. And what's cool is that me going through that spot is just another reminder of why I do stuff like that. Because if it wasn't for other people lifting me up and kind of helping me through that bad time, I wouldn't have made it through that bad time again. Just like I wouldn't have made it plenty of other times in my life without support and help from people. So it just further reminded me of why making positive impacts on other people's lives is so important, and reaching out and saying hello to somebody that you have nothing to gain from, you know, helping people out with things that you know that they can never return the favor, but you do it because you know what's going to make a difference in their life. Like it just kind of reiterated all those beliefs that I have, and was like, you know what, this is why I do it. You know, I had people that reached out to me when I was going through a lot of my like bad depression like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I had people reach out to me that I've never met, and they're just like, hey man, I saw you on Facebook and you just looked like you were really sad. And I just want to reach out and see if there's anything. And I was like, never met this guy, like from a different part of this country. And, you know, and it was just so eye-opening to me. And I was like, man, like support is the most valuable thing we can have in this world. And it comes in so many forms. And that's why our dogs are so important to us, because we literally could call them any name we want and they still love us. You know what I mean? Like, like I can forget to feed him today and he's still going to love me, you know? So either way, I don't mean to ramble so much. You know me, man. I ramble on topics for hours.
No, it's good, man. It's good. But yeah, let's you know, we've been doing this we've been recording for a while now. So let's talk about the show. That's why we wanted to come on.
Isn't that what you said like 20 minutes ago?
We're like all over the place. We're talking about dogs, whatever.
Well, that's why I have my little squirrel thing, and we call it squirrel syndrome. Is I just see a squirrel and just get it sidetracked. But yeah, so the show. So episode 1 of season 2 airs in April. The first week of April is going to be on the Pursuit channel, which is on the Pursuit channels on geez, if I can remember it, on Sling TV, Pluto TV. The app is available on, well, I'll get the app in a minute. It's on Sling, Pluto TV, AT&T Uverse, Xfinity, Comcast, satellite. So it's on Dish, Direct, Charter Cable. It's available almost everywhere. But you can also get the free streaming app, which is called Pursuit Up, and it comes automatically in every Samsung smart TV, every Vizio smart TV. You can get it on your Roku. You can get it on your phones, your laptops. It's free. You can watch the whole 2020 season, but the current season takes 90 days to get uploaded on there. But the new season starts. I'm super pumped about this year, man. Our first episode that airs this year is the one where we went fishing out of a seaplane, out of a 1947 Piper seaplane. And it was incredible. We caught a fish off of a seaplane. We went kayak fishing first and wound up in front of these planes and decided to take these planes out. And then we gave away a kayak to a Detroit fireman at the end of the episode, and surprised him with it. It was super cool. I got to act like a delivery driver. But season 2021, man, is just going to be, it's going to be what I wanted season 1 to be, but we couldn't do it with the pandemic. So, it's full of adventure. It's full of pay it forward and charity segments and a lot of cool kayak fishing, a lot of really cool fish we caught. We're fishing from shore, from bass boats, from pontoons, from docks, from planes, from kayaks, obviously. And, every species is on the table. We're actually filming, for my first time doing it on my show, at least. I filmed a catch and cook with Robert Field on my show last year. But it was kind of like that was his thing. Like, he loves doing catch and cooks. I'm filming my own catch and cook for the first time this year too, which we're waiting until spring hits. And we're actually bringing a fillet table. Railblaza makes this really cool fillet table that starport mounts to your kayak rails. It's big. It's like 20 inches. But I'm going to actually fillet the fish like right then and there. Like, I'm going to catch them, throw them in my fish bag, and then go up to the shore. We'll fillet them right on the kayak. We're going to grill them right on the shore. We're going to have lunch and then go back out and fish more. And like adventures like that are just, I don't know. I mean, that's kind of what fuels me, man. It's just like those, like the fact that I get to do that and share it with people is like one of the coolest things I get to do. So the 2021 season is just like a accumulation of, all the things that I really want to do. And I don't make episodes, and I hope this doesn't take the wrong way, but I don't make episodes for other people. Like, I don't make episodes for viewers. I really don't. And I know I should. It's kind of my job. I make episodes just because I think they're cool. Like, I just filmed with an NHL hockey player, and I took him fishing. It was super fun. It was actually really funny too, because he didn't know how to handle a bass at first. So he lost a huge smallmouth. He's from Northern Canada, where they don't really have bass. So everything has teeth up there. So he didn't know how to hold it. It was really funny, but I went and got custom goalie pads made after that. And we did a shootout with him shooting on me. And it was just like missiles being fired at me. And it's all in one episode, man. It was just super cool. And it's like, I didn't do that because I was like, man, the fishing community would love to see me play hockey. Like, that's not what I was thinking. I did it because I was like, dude, I played hockey for 33 years. It's like a huge part of my life. And I want to share that with everybody. I want to share with everybody one of my huge passions. And you know what? I think it'd be kind of cool to go play some hockey with a pro hockey player. Like, I think it'd be kind of fun. So I made an episode about it. We're doing another episode with an MMA fighter, with a UFC fighter, because it's a big part of my life. It used to be, at least. And, I like to show the sport off and to show, someone who's still training, who's still extremely talented in the sport. I want to show off their skills, and I think it'd be fun to watch. I think it's cool. Are the viewers going to react to it? I don't know, to be honest with you. It might be my worst episode ever. No one will watch it, but I think it's cool to share, to take a UFC fighter fishing and then go in the cage with them for a little bit. We're doing it with a professional band, like a very famous band. We're taking guitar player fishing and doing the studio session out. Like, the things that we get to do in the show makes it so unique and so different. And we're finally doing it all in this season, because last season we didn't get to. So, it's just super cool. It's like literally like my show is like a journal of my life. And that's what I wanted it to be in the beginning. I love paying it forward. The more I get, the more I give. I love giving back. I love surprising people with things. If I only have $5 to my name, I'll find a way to give away $6. I just love doing it. So, I get to incorporate that in my show. Like, it's just, my show is like literally like my favorite thing I've ever done, because it's me. Like, it's the first thing I've done, where I get to be myself 100% and share everything that I love and everything I'm passionate about with everybody else that wants to see it. Like, if you don't want to see it, you don't have to, but if you want to, you get to see something that someone's extremely passionate about. And if you don't watch my show, just like if you listen to my podcast or my interviews that I do, I'm extremely passionate, and you get to see that through like fishing and hockey and firearm testing and, custom gun manufacturers that I travel to, and like all these cool things that you aren't used to seeing in a fishing show, So the 2021 season has it all. It's literally has like 5 sports. It has professional musicians. It has like, you know, it's got so much. And like, I want to ask you, because I actually, you know what's funny is I didn't ask this question on my podcast last night, and I wanted to, and I completely forgot. But I want feedback on this really bad. So anybody who's watching this, comment on this with your opinion, and I want your opinion too, Josh. Do you think it's too much to put in one episode to have fishing, then just for an example, like fishing, then like going to a gun manufacturer, and then doing like a charity giveaway segment at the end? Do you think that's too much to put in one thing, or do you think it's cool that you can see like such a diverse thing in one show? It's like 3 mini episodes in one show, though.
Well, I mean, you got to be different. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be.
But do you think it's too different though? Like, do you think like none of those things make sense to be together? Because like I know, so it's funny. I get feedback on my show all the time, but I feel like the feedback I get is always so generic and so vague. They're like, dude, the show was great, man. Hey, that was really cool. I'm like, yeah, but what? Like, I want criticism. Like, I don't get enough of it. The criticism I get is like, you know, keyboard warriors. Dude, you suck. I catch bigger fish than you. I'm like, well, that's not criticizing me, dude. That's just throwing weird insults.
Be creative and tell me how I suck. Yeah. No, like, yeah, here's my thing. Here's my thing. Like, oh, you know, we get these. So like you think you know what I want a kayak fishing show to be about, or what I want a whatever show to be about. I don't know. It doesn't make like it's unfair for me to be like that, and I've kind of reached that age where I'm like that, where I'm more like, dude, to do what you want, see what happens type guy now. Do I think it's too much? I don't know. It could be. It might not. I mean, it might be. I don't know. I'm in this weird age where I don't have like a like 5 years ago, I would have told you exactly what I thought. Now these days, I don't know what I think. I'm just like, whatever. Just
do you know what I mean?
Whatever. Like, do you, and like if I like it, I like it. If I don't like it, I don't like it. But I don't know. I like fishing. I like guns. And I mean, helping people out. That's pretty goddamn cool too. But I don't know. To me, it just depends on what you thought you were gonna get out of something, and then what you actually get out of something can sometimes be a little upset. Like if you watch a show and you think it's going to be this, and then it's not, you know, it's like, well, God damn it, that pisses me off. But, you know, I don't really have that, idea about you. I've been watching your stuff for a while now. I know that you're usually going to go, you know, catch something usually finesse style, go back to shore, you know, hang out with your intern, and then give away something at Walmart or something like that. I don't know, like, or give away a kid's rod. So it's kind of like what I expect from you now. You know, because I mean, dude, I've been following you for probably like 3 years. You don't know this, but I actually, when I was doing you were doing a podcast, I won a beanie. I was the first person on your show to ever win 2 giveaways on the same show. I won like 2 beanies or something like that. And then
that's awesome.
So I mean, like, I've been watching for a while, so I don't know. Like I kind of know what to expect from you now. I don't know what's going to happen with the season, but you know, it wouldn't surprise me that you'd have guns, fish, and giveaways.
Yeah, well, so that's the thing is like I've had people tell me that they like how it's like an adventure, and how, you know, they're like, oh, I'm not like I the one I get the most actually is I'm not really a fan of fishing, but it was really cool. Like I watched it because you were hiking in Moab in the canyons, or I watched it because you were ziplining over gator swamps, and I thought that was cool. That's why I watched it. I was like, you know what? That's why I did that, because if you're not into fishing, like I don't want to make a fishing show. I want to make the show this year. I changed the name. It's called BassSquatch Hunter TV Outdoor Adventures, because I want to make an outdoor adventure show. I just happen to love fishing, and I think fishing is one of those things where fishing is a vehicle to do a lot of things. And like, for example, if I just met you, and if I was like, man, what's the best way to have a conversation with Josh? Like, what's the best way to actually sit down, especially being a dude? Like, 2 dudes can't just sit there and gossip. Like, it's just weird. Like, girls can link up and start talking about their personal lives. Dudes can't do that. Just not in our DNA. But if you get another guy on a fishing boat or in a kayak, or you're on the water with nothing else around you but the water, you have these like crazy, like intimate conversations. Like you have these conversations about each other's lives and like what you've been through in your marriage. And, you know, like it gives you that opportunity. Like hunting does that too. Like these like,
right.
I don't know, these opportunities that like I've learned more about like, you know, other people on the water more than I've ever in my entire life. I mean, it's just like, it gives you this environment where you can just like open up and feel comfortable and feel at peace. And you feel like it's like a safe zone for everybody. Like no matter who you are or how many walls you have up, you get on the water and you're in nature. And for some reason, everything just opens up. And I've been addicted to that feeling. Like when I say kayak fishing is my therapy, like just fishing in general is my therapy. Like I literally mean it, like legitimately mean it. My depression and anxiety issues have been unbearable at times, and it always evolves. So my attack on them always has to evolve too. Music and fishing are the two things that have never had to evolve. If I grab one of my guitars and start playing, my anxiety goes away, my depression goes away. If I get on my kayak and start throwing a fishing rod around, even if I catch no fish within like an hour, I'm at peace. And fishing does that. So I wanted to make sure the show was fishing. That was one of my things where I was like, fishing gives me this opportunity to take hockey players or MMA fighters or all these people out of their comfort zone and put them in a kayak so we can really talk and have real conversations, or even fellow fishermen, like just get out in the water and just talk. But I want to show people how cool these people are too. I want to show people like if I took you on my show, for example, if I would take you fishing, obviously we'd go fishing, we have a great time, talk about our baits, our techniques, all the stuff. But then I'd be like, dude, let's go do a ride along in an ambulance. And I'm assuming you're an EMT, you said, right?
Paramedic, yeah.
Okay, so you drive around an ambulance. Okay.
Yeah.
So to make sure I heard that right before I said that. So like then I'd be like, cool, dude, even though we can't because of HIPAA laws and everything like that. But if we could, I'd be like, hey, let's go ride along in an ambulance for an hour or two, and let's show the world like what you do is pretty awesome too. Like let's show people your world and like let's see how cool that is. And then hey, let's go surprise some kids in the ambulance and show the lights on and stuff like that and go give out some cool stuff. Like that would be my ideal episode to do with you, because like the fishing part will give us an opportunity to talk and open up. The adventure part, which would be the part riding around the ambulance, shows people something cool they've never gotten to see probably, and exposes me to something cool I've never seen before. And it gets to show off, like, I showed you what I can do in the fishing world. Now let me see what you can do in your world. And then, you know what? Let's go do something cool at the end of this, and let's go help some people with what we both do together. So like that's why my episodes are the way they are, with like 3 mini segments where it's like fishing, then like seaplanes, and then giving away stuff at Walmart, because that's my thought process. Is I want to go fishing and I want to show off how cool something else is, whether I'm passionate about it or someone else is passionate about it. And then I want to go give back and help out and do something cool and put smiles on people's faces and make a positive impact. Like the bigger my platform gets, the first thing that I do is try to find new opportunity to give back. And like I got a brand new sponsor this year, like a huge brand that I've been literally targeting for 4 years. I've been working for this sponsor for 4 years to try to get them on board. And it took me every bit of 4 years to earn a spot with them. And I finally got it this year. It's one of my huge goals. First thing I did for them, I didn't say, here's what I need from you, all my baits, everything like that. I said, I am doing all these kids camps this year. I'm volunteering at all these big seminars. I want to give away a bunch of kid stuff. Can you guys help me out with that? The first thing I got from them before a paycheck, before anything for myself, was cases of kids tackle boxes. And that's my first thought all the time, is how can I use my platform to use opportunity to give back? And I want to say, I know we're going like super long here, but I want to say one more thing about that too. There's another good example of my motivation to build my platform bigger, to give back. Like last year, there was a guy on one of the owners groups of a kayak brand. He posted, you could tell he had like really low income housing was in the background. Didn't have a lot of money, didn't have a lot of resources, an older guy. He posted a picture of his kayak with some like really crude, like steel welded bracket that he made that looked like it weighed 40 pounds. Like it would have not been okay for the kayak. It would have destroyed the track system. It would have made the kayak sit weird. It would have not performed well. Well, he posted it because he was proud of his work. I mean, he posted it because he was proud that he came up with something. Well, leave it to social media. He got bashed. He got, people were just commenting terrible stuff. I just scrolled through social media like I do every day, and I saw it, and it caught my attention because I saw like 200 and something comments on this dude's post, which is abnormal. And they were all, not all of them, but there's a lot of them were like pretty negative. So I was like, hold on, this isn't okay. I'm not okay with this at all. So first thing I thought of was, how can I fix this on my end? Like complaining about it, protesting about it, trying to block it doesn't fix the problem at all. It's like this whole social justice thing with stopping things doesn't fix things. Fixing things fix things. So I made phone calls to brands that I don't even work with. I just said, hey, this is who I am. It's got nothing to do with me, but here's this dude. He needs help. Can we send him some stuff? And I had thousands of dollars worth of gear sent to him within 7 days. He got a new motor for his kayak. That's what he was making as a motor mount. A new motor mount from a company that makes amazing motor mounts. A new battery, a lithium-ion battery. All of it was free of charge for him. And it was just because I made phone calls and used my platform as like a way to get a hold of people, and then just said, hey, can you just help this dude out? Like, you're not going to get anything in return. Like, this dude's not going to become a customer. Like, he doesn't have a following. Like, you're literally going to get zero return from this. We're not filming it. We're not promoting it, but we're going to fix this dude's problem and make everyone else look stupid for making fun of him. And that's what happened. This dude got like an $1,800 motor setup and battery and everything like that. And it was posted on social media by him. He posted it, and everyone that hated on him got really quiet after that. They were just like, oh crap. And it's like, yeah, that's how you fix a problem. So that's what I want to do with my platform though. But that's what I want to do. Like, I told my nephew this last year, if I could have a TV show where all I did was give back to people, I would do that instead. I would stop fishing. I wouldn't stop fishing, but I'd stop the fishing show. And I would transform my whole entire thing to doing nothing but giving back. Unfortunately, I can't afford to do that. So I have to have the fishing show as the platform to be able to do that, to be able to afford to give back. And that's what I really want to do though. It's my favorite thing to do. And anybody who's ever given anybody anything knows that is the most addicting feeling in the world, is to see someone else be impacted by something that you did, even if it's just smiling at them or waving at them or picking up something they dropped. Like, the smallest thing could change somebody's life. It could stop them from suicidal thoughts. It could stop them from, so many things. I mean, just it's incredible what you can do by fixing people's problems, or at least showing that you care about their problems, even validating their problems. And that's why my show is the way it is. It's literally the first 2 segments are just so I can make the 3rd segment happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, and we'll wrap this thing up soon, but like just a kind of caveat. Like, one of the things that I saw, one of the things, and this is just where I'm at. I'm 37 years old. I spent, like, I've done a lot of shit.
We're the same age.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I've done a lot of shit. I've got 5 combat tours. I feel like I lived 5 different lives. You know what I mean? And so, at this point in my life, I'm very nonchalant about stuff. And so, like, a lot of times I'll see people, post things and then, like, get beat up like that, and I'm like, and all I think about, like for, like, we'll say the pro staff thing, for instance. Like, people get beat up and ridiculed for being, like, being pro staff, putting stickers on their kayak and acting like they're a pro. And all I can think about is, like, look, dude, life sucks sometimes. It really does. Like, life, like, it kicks you in the ass. Like, whatever, you get divorced, you work a job you hate, your dog gets sick or whatever. Like, life just sucks. And, like, all I think about is, like, if it makes someone happy to put 1,000 stickers on your kayak and to pretend or act like you're a professional angler, I'm like, well, go do that shit. You know what I mean? Because, like, to me, it's like, if that makes that person happy and that gives that person, a purpose for the day or whatever, go be it. Because, I've been in some pretty shitty situations. I've been in some pretty low places. And if that makes that person happy, then I'm glad that person's happy. Whether I believe – and I think one of the things I've learned, like, this point in my life is that I can have an opinion, but I ain't got to share it. And I don't have to tell people about it. I can keep that shit to myself. And, like,
well, we're from that generation where we know just because you can doesn't mean you should. Like, I think we're the last generation of that.
And so, with the show and the things we talked about with your show, and, I've gotten some hate from my podcast. I don't care about that stuff. And, like, even like, your show, I've seen you get blasted before on social media, and it's just like, dude, if Mike Mckinstry's happy, who gives a shit what this guy thinks? If Mike's living his dream, if Mike's doing these things, and, like, who gives a shit? It's like, I don't care. It's like, it's just these things. These things are just so insignificant to me. They don't matter, because in 5 or 10 years, no one's really going to care about what was said and blah, blah, blah anyway. So, I'm glad you're giving back, and I'm glad you hooked that guy up because he needed it. Because every now and then we do need to pick me up. That. So, I mean, like, yeah. I'm in a great place these days as far as the way I kind of view things. And to go back to one thing, I wish I would have remembered this when you asked me that question about, like, what I thought about your show if you did this and that. This is what I thought. Like, when you call and said you want to come to the show, and I started thinking about what I want to talk about and how I want to approach the show, and you talk about your new season. I think one of the things that we get that we're not guilty of, but one of the things that kind of bites us in the ass is the way we brand stuff. And so, like, I think about your show. Your show's called the BassSquatch Hunter. When we think of BassSquatch, we think of hunter. We think of someone who's going out there and hunting the big bass. And then all of a sudden your show turns into be like a little more than that. I think that's absolutely fine, because one of the problems, one of the things that I saw with, like, this is my 2nd or 3rd podcast. And the reason I have it's my 2nd or 3rd is because every time I make a podcast, it never goes along to what I branded it as. Like, the first podcast I had was the Chronicles of a Badass Dad. And I was talking to such badass dudes. I was talking to vets who had no legs that were still raising kids and living the best life they had. And I was talking to some people who came from like drug addictions. I was talking to a dad who lost his kid to cancer. And so all these conversations became more about like the experiences and stuff that was going on, in these guys' lives, more than it was about being a dad. And I realized like it's so hard sometimes when you brand something and like the name of a show or the perception of what the show is going to be. You're supposed to, I guess like society says we're supposed to stick to that, but it's like it doesn't happen like that. Like, you get a great conversation and you grow and you change. It's like I'm not changing my podcast. Like, a lot of times, like I'm talking to big boaters, like I don't even know how much fishing we mean you actually talked about the show, and I don't really care. This is where the show went. My show's called the Dark Waters Kayak Fishing Podcast, and that's just the way it goes sometimes. And you can just get over it, right? We talk about dogs that are sick. We talk about depression. We talk about being happy. We talk about all kinds of shit on my show, and I don't care. I mean, that's just like whatever. I'm gonna do my thing, and you're gonna do your thing. And I think that's just that's it, and we're gonna be happy about it. And
that's what makes it real, though, dude. If your podcast was so scripted where it was always the same, it wouldn't be real. Because like I've done episodes of my show where I skunk, where I catch no fish. And it's funny because people are like, but dude, you can't do that. I'm like, yeah, I can, because it's real. It really happened. Like I really went to a brand new place for my first time on a trip and I didn't catch any fish. And I show you guys the struggle of me not being able to catch fish, because that happens more often than not, that when you go to a new body of water that you've never been to, you catch no fish. Sometimes it happens. And I'd rather be real and that's the thing too. Like we talked about changing the name of the show last year because they're like, well, we're not really hunting BassSquatch anymore. I'm like, not true. My original theory behind the name of hunting BassSquatch is the one elusive fish you can never get on camera, like a Sasquatch. Like the one elusive thing that you can never capture is a Sasquatch. That's like everyone relates Sasquatch to like the hide and seek champion of the world, where you just no one can ever find him. And the legend and the myth of him is just, I say of him, but of it, I guess, has grown into this crazy thing where there's people dedicating their lives to trying to find Sasquatch, and they'll never get a picture of him. So my whole theory behind the BassSquatch thing was like, I used to get like, I don't want to say picked on because it's not like a negative thing, but like people would like poke at me because I would always find the biggest fish of the day, but I would never catch the most fish. Like I wouldn't win a tournament, but I would get the biggest fish of the day, no matter where we were, whether it was saltwater, freshwater, brand new species. I would get lucky is all it was, and just get the bigger one of anybody else of the day. And it turned into that thing where I was like, yeah, it's like the BassSquatch. Like, that's what I find all the time is the BassSquatch. It's the one big fish. So like people do see my title of my show, because when I go and film at like a professional hockey rink, like I was dealing with like multi-million-dollar like things and people and companies, and they're looking at me like, BassSquatch, like what the hell does it have to do with hockey? Like, why are you here? Like I literally, somebody at the professional ice rink looked at me and said, why are you here? I don't get it. And I looked at him and started laughing. I was like, dude, I totally understand. I'm like, here's what my show's about.
But I'm going to go with it.
Yeah, like, I'm not sure why I'm here either, but isn't it cool? Like, that's pretty much what it was. I'm like, hey, dude, leave me alone. I'm here, all right? We already got it booked. Like, leave me alone. But no, it's like, that's why I think it's so cool. Like, I kind of wish I could rebrand at this point, to be honest with you. Like, I wish I could to something more generic, so it's not solely based off of hunting the big fish. But I also, in a way, I kind of like it, because when I explain it to people, because I have to all the time, I'm like, look, it's just the one elusive thing you never get on camera. And that could be an adventure. It could be a fish. It could be, just because I called it the BassSquatch, because the one elusive fish, I kind of opened that up into a broader term, where it's like, how many times have you seen somebody fish out of a 1947 seaplane? Never. Well, I did it, and I put it on camera so you could see it too. How many times have you seen some guy play with a pro hockey player in a pro ice rink and do a shootout? Like, most people have never seen that either. I filmed it and showed you so you can see it. I filmed a close-up of a NASCAR crash from filming on the track. Most people haven't seen that. So it's like, it kind of evolved into like, I want to show you guys this cool adventure, like that fishing allows me to do, by having the fishing show and by building that brand. I'm able to work with some amazing people who have some incredible talents outside of the fishing industry, and some very talented fishermen inside the fishing industry. I work with more people outside of the industry than I do in the industry, because fishing is fishing. Like, you can watch, everybody's got social media, you can watch all these pro anglers all the time, but you might not get to see what it's like to be a professional hockey player, or to be, a custom gun manufacturer, or like, you might not get to see all these things. So I just want to expose people to all these cool things. Like everybody has talents and everybody is cool. Like everybody's got some awesome stuff to them. Like everyone's like got this like beauty that is beautiful to somebody, and I want to share it. And I think it's super cool to do that. And then the pay it forward stuff, man, is like, yeah, it's got nothing to do with fishing most of the time. Sometimes it does. It's got nothing to do with BassSquatch, but it's also that thing that people need to see to be inspired. Like I watch pay it forward videos all the time, dude, and it changes my day. Like I laugh. I audibly laugh like out loud when I'm watching videos because I'm like so happy about it. Like I get choked up sometimes watching a homeless man break down because someone bought him an apartment, you know, like, and that's my goal, is to do bigger things like that, be able to, you know, provide housing for people, provide, you know, I was supposed to do a big cookout this year. Pandemic ruined that, but I had this gas company on board and a food company on board. And we were going to cook like 500 or 600 hot dogs in downtown Detroit and just do it for free. And anybody who wanted food, come up and get free food. But we had to not do that because of the pandemic. But, you know, like that's the kind of stuff I really want to do. And yeah, it's got nothing to do with the name of the show, but it's got everything to do with what the show is all about. So like right. my buddy Gene Jensen, Fluke Master, it's a good example too. Everyone's like, oh, so you fish with flukes, like you're the Fluke Master. And he's like, no,
he's a perfect example.
Not. Like he like, I guarantee he regrets that name at this point, but it was just the name he was known by when he was doing blogs back in the day. So he just stuck with it. You know, we can't all be lucky and have something that's generic and stuff from the very beginning because we don't know where it's going to evolve to. You know, so, you know, dark waters kayak fishing, you know, doesn't mean you have to talk about kayak fishing. It just means that that's the base of your show. Like that's the theory of the show. You know, we can talk about Veterans Affairs, or we can talk about depression. We can talk about, you know, whatever, dude. It's just, it makes it real, because honestly, like I like your podcast because I think you're a cool dude to talk to. Like, I think the conversation's cool, not because I want to hear about more kayak fishing stuff. Like that's actually like the least thing I want to hear about, you know. Like I like to listen to like I listen to Joe Rogan because the dude never talks about fishing, you know?
Right. Well, cool, man. I appreciate you coming to the show. We got to wrap this up. We both got things we got to do. So thank who you want to thank, put some plugs in where people can follow you, and then we'll wrap it up, dude.
Cool. Well, I just want to thank you, man. Thanks for being the host on here, and thanks for having me on and promoting the show. And thanks to everybody that watches this podcast. And, you know, I encourage everybody to share this podcast at least once and get it out there, and, you know, watch all the other ones. That's it. I don't need to shout out sponsors or anything like that, man. That's what my platform's for. So, you know, check me out on BassSquatchHunter.com and BassSquatch Hunter TV on every social media platform. But, you know, check out this podcast, guys. This is some cool stuff happening out here, and everyone's got some cool voices that should be heard. And, you know, thank you very much for having me on, Josh. Really appreciate it, man.
All right, Mike, have a good day. Looking forward to the show, and let's stay in touch.
All right, cool, man. Thanks.